We have finally made it to Fort Pierce after hours of driving. As you can see, nothing is around us because we've been driving in the middle of nowhere.
For hours.
For hours. Thank you, Dr. Sowell, for this experience. Hopefully we'll survive. This is log 1 of Journey to Eatonville. Here's Josh, he's driving. He says hi to
Guy's
everyone.
a freaking Confederate flag on the back of his car, and it says redneck.
Let me get a picture of these guys. We made it into Fort Pierce.
This is the middle of Fort Pierce. There's obviously nothing here at all.
Nothing here, obviously, except for this biker guy.
We have caught up to the redneck.
He has a deer
on top of his car.
Oh God. Redneck. Confederate flag, redneck. This flag is considered a hate symbol only because of your ignorance. Oh God, this is my peace symbol. This is a gun. God. You know you're in Fort Pierce when you see this type of stuff. Oh God. I'm scared.
I'm really scared.
Josh is scared.
I'm scared.
We're on our way to the Zora Neale Hurston
her house. We're going to her house.
And
we're just gonna show up.
Just gonna show up apparently in Fort Pierce. So we're making our way there. If anyone wanted to see what it looks like, here it is. We'll be there in a second, so we'll update you then. We have found a street light in Fort Pierce. It only has a red one. I'm a little bit scared. We've successfully located the Zora Neale Hurston house.
Kinda. Going in the right direction.
Josh and I have made it to Fort Pierce, and as you can see, Josh is sitting by the Zora Neale Hurston Trail, the Heritage Trail, and we're gonna make our way to her house, stop number 3 on the trail.
It's right here.
Right there. And right now we're next to the Zora Neale Hurston Library. And right here they have a bench with her image on it.
It's beautiful.
That's Miss Hurston right there. So we're gonna make our way to the library and then make our final stop at Eatonville. Here we are. Josh and I have finally made it to the Zora Neale Hurston house here in Fort Pierce. And as you can see, it's a very modest home. Nice sign here to go with it, and it says from early 1958 through late 1959, Zora Neale Hurston lived in this house, part of a new subdivision developed by Dr. Clem C. Benton, a prominent Fort Pierce physician and community leader. Dr. Benton allowed Zora, a family friend, to live in the house rent-free. The house is on the National Register of Historic Places and was designated a National Historic Landmark by the U.S. Department of Interior National Park Service in 1991. In 1995, it was moved 500 feet due north from its original location at 1734 School Court to allow for expansion of Lincoln Park Academy, where Zora briefly taught in 1958. So that wraps up our first stop on our way to Eatonville, the Zora Neale Hurston house. Very nice.
Let's go to Eatonville.
Let's go to Eatonville, yay!
After hours of driving, we have finally made it to Eatonville. Look.
Josh and I are here at the Eatonville Town Hall. This historic place, and as you can see around us, it has a rustic scenery. You can see the town that Freedom built up at the historic Eatonville Town Hall, and a nice historic clock. So we're going to explore the landscape and see what we can find about Eatonville. Josh and I, after arriving in Eatonville, come to our first stop here, and it's the Hurston home site. Joe Clark's original store, known in the book Their Eyes Were Watching God. And here is the original site where Joe made his store. Across from this site, on People Street, once stood the 8-room, 1-story and a jump house in which the Hurston family lived. The Reverend John Hurston was the town's 3rd mayor and the 2nd pastor of the Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church. His daughter, Zora Neale Hurston, is the widely acclaimed writer, folklorist, and cultural anthropologist Zora relates many details of her life in the Hurston house and the surrounding community in her novels. Jonah's Guardvine and Their Eyes Were Watching God in her autobiography, Dust Tracks on the Road. Joe Clark's store sat just across Old Opelika Road, Kennedy Boulevard. From the Hurston house, inside, Clark sold groceries and general merchandise. The store also functioned as the town's post office and town hall. Townspeople often gathered on the store's front porch to swap stories and tell tales, and to tell riddles and jokes. Zora immortalized the lion porch, as she called it in her writings. So this is our first stop on our trip around Eatonville, and one of the most important. As seen in the book, Their Eyes Were Watching God, the actual site where Joe once worked and produced the town of Eatonville. Here we see a picture of Joe, faded as it is, nonetheless important.
It's probably historic.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Josh and I walking down Eatonville, walking down on one of the roads in Eatonville. Seems like a nice community.
It's pretty nice.
Pretty nice. Looks like everyone's doing well. Not too modernized, but I guess it's a historic district, so that's to be expected.
Behind me, you can see an old citrus grove and house, and it used to be one of the biggest citrus growing things in Eatonville, but it was frozen over recently, and this is just what's left over. And it was made in the early 1920s.
And here we see a commemorative sign announcing that this is Dash's Citrus Grove and House. And here we see a picture of the man himself. He's an early 19th century, early 20th century resident of Eatonville. And here's a picture of his house as it used to be back in the day. And that concludes stop 2 of our Eatonville tour. Well, this is Josh and I walking to stop 3 of our Eatonville tour. It is precisely 375 million degrees.
I'm melting.
This is actually the original town cemetery of Eatonville. As we've read in our book, Their Eyes Were Watching God, Joe Clark died in the book, and this is actually the place where he was buried. And also members of such prominent Eatonville families as the Bogers, the Watsons, and the Lesters, and the Jonases were buried here. It was a cemetery until 1931, and then a developer took it over, and it's no longer used, but still here in memory, and we have a dedication to it right here.
We're in the middle of Eatonville right now, and we're on the main street that's called Kennedy Boulevard. And this street used to be only about 5 or 6 feet wide, and it's changed into like almost a major road. This lot used to be where Sal's place was, which is one of the biggest and most prominent households that used to be here.
And Josh and I have made our next stop at the Ladies Club Pavilion. As you can see here, it's now the Eatonville Police Department, but back in the day, the Ladies Club Pavilion used to be where all the ladies came and hung out and talked the gossip of the town back in Zora Neale Hurston days. And now they've renovated it like a lot of Eatonville is, but it's a little bit more modern, and that's what they feel is better, so that's what we have.
This is an old image of it with a bunch of ladies standing in front, and here's just a picture of it. It's basically just like a pavilion. Behind me is the main church of Eatonville. It used to be the one that existed in Zora Neale Hurston's time, but they redid it recently. Here it is.
Another stop on our Eatonville tour. This is actually the Zora Neale Hurston Square. Here in Eatonville, they dedicated a monument to her. And what we have here is the new library. And Josh and I went inside, and it looks very new and very nice. Here in Eatonville, they're renovating things and making big changes. So as Josh and I depart from Eatonville, we leave a little bit disappointed that we didn't get to see the actual sites, but content with the fact that we made it here and learned some new information about the city.
And survive the journey.
And survive the journey, as Josh would say. So Josh and I bid farewell to Eatonville and a long trip.
Bye, Eatonville.
Bye.